Hey, did you know there's no actual rules when it comes to writing? Every editor out there clutches their pearls, but let me explain. So the crazy thing about art is that it's art. There's no right or wrong art. Surprisingly, there's no wrong or right art. There's no such thing as good or bad ideas in art. Every idea is valid, and the validity for the viewers or readers comes from the execution of the idea. Did you pull off your idea or not? Not whether or not it was a good idea or bad idea, just whether or not you actually managed to make it work. This is why I don't tell people what not to do. I'm not a don't do this person. In fact, I wrote a whole small book on writing rough drafts for the indie author, and I don't say don't do anything. I don't say don't do anything in the book. It's permissive. It's a yes and, not a don't do that, don't do this. And that's because I don't know you. I don't know what you're capable of. I don't know what's inside of you that wants to come out. I don't know what that's going to look like, and I don't know what that art that comes out of you is going to mean to your audience. So why would I stand in between you and your audience and say, no, you can't do that. No, you can't do that. Doesn't make any sense. I would say, yes, do that and more. Now, by the same token, we all have personal preferences, right? I have personal preferences when it comes to reading and writing. Everybody else does. Every reader out there has their own, I like this and I don't like that stuff. I don't come out here and tell you guys what I like and what I don't like when I'm reading. It wouldn't accomplish anything, or if it did accomplish anything, it would be negative, right? If I came out here and said, I don't like these kind of things in the books that I read, what does that accomplish? People are still going to write books like that. People are still going to enjoy things like that. All I've done is said, I don't like that. And by extension, maybe I make people feel bad for liking that or for writing like that. That's not a good thing. So my personal preferences when it comes to reading and writing, I try to keep personal, right? Now, writing, obviously, I've been making a fuss. I'm an author. I got to talk about my writing. But when it comes to what I like to read, my own personal preferences when it comes to reading, I try to keep those just to myself because it really only concerns myself. But the important thing is to remember that writing is an art. And it's an art like art. No, it's an actual fine art. It is art with a capital A, arts. And in the art world, everything goes because it's art. It's undefinable. It's intrinsically human expression in a way that doesn't make any objective sense. Art is a miracle, and it's insanity, and it's wonderful, and it can be terrible. It's art. There is a lingering dark shadow over us as indie authors. That's the traditional corporate mechanisms that have dictated the terms and conditions of writing and publishing for centuries. And just within the last 20 years, we as authors have managed to find a space by which we can write and publish books and put those books in the hands of readers directly without those hierarchy of structured corporate entities dictating who gets read and who doesn't. And those big corporate structures had their own very rigid rules and regulations. Good writing, right? Oh, you can't get this past an agent. It must be bad writing. We know that's not true. You could be an excellent writer who wrote something incredible that doesn't quite match the criteria for an agent or for a corporation. That's no shade to your writing. That's their problem. But a lot of people, especially traditional corporate published apologists, will come on and dictate the terms of good and bad writing here and elsewhere, as if us indie authors are somehow lost sheep who need to be shepherded back into the golden fields of good writing. It's a lie. And I know it's a lie because nobody can say what good writing or bad writing is, because nobody can really say what good art or bad art is. That's a relationship between the artist and the person who's enjoying their art. That's where that decision of good and bad art is made, and everyone comes to those decisions individually. You might like something that everybody else hates, but your enjoyment of it is valid. And you might hate something that everybody else loves, and your dislike of that is equally valid. So, I don't talk about my personal reading preferences because that's nobody's business, and expressing them, even just talking about what I like and what I don't like, can accidentally do some harm with readers and writers. By the same token, I don't come out and say to anybody, don't do this with your writing. Don't start your book this way. Don't introduce your characters this way. Don't do chapters that way, because I don't know what you're capable of. And I could say, maybe you shouldn't do this, or if you're going to do it, really pay attention to all these things that are involved with it. Like, there are definitely difficult paths to walk that might be very advanced and hard to pull off, sure, but that doesn't mean don't do it. It just means tread with caution. And there is a secondary debate about what constitutes good writing, or quality writing, right? When you can read a amateur work and a more advanced work and you can see the quality differences, the same way that you would say the differences in writing between middle school children and high school children. The quality of writing is something that can be a bit more quantifiable, but not necessarily in the adult context of art. Ultimately, the question of quality is still one of personal preferences and personal biases, not necessarily an objective measure of right or wrong, any more than you could apply techniques to evaluations of paintings. You can, and people do, whether or not this is amateurish or modern art or just like a classic photo or a painting or whatever. You see what I'm saying? Like, there's definitely a level of quality that comes from experience and learning and skill as you do the craft more and more. I do think that's a real thing, obviously. But beyond the ability of quality, or the issue of quality, we talk about there's like a sort of a threshold, like you're good enough at writing, and from that moment on, you can achieve anything. You don't have to worry about the basics anymore. It's just about your imagination and your ability to weave an interesting tale for readers to enjoy. That can look like anything, including ignoring grammar, including doing surrealistic work, doing formatting work, like just having 3 pages of the letter A. The sky's the limit. There's no way to know if you're going to pull it off or not until you actually do it, which is why I'm always permissive and encouraging and trying to inspire people to think about the literary arts as an art form more than I have to do paint by numbers in order to have a good novel. There's no paint by numbers. There was a corporate stepladder that you had to step up that required certain things to be certain ways. If you're going the independent self-publishing route, you don't have to worry about that at all, including the shadow that it casts on us, where we have an idea of what we think a good novel is in our head because the corporations planted that idea in our head. Liberate yourselves from the idea of a good novel and write a crazy novel, and it'll probably be more fun for you and your readers. And for the love of God, do not take advice from strangers on the internet.